All righty. Welcome to the Integrated Resources Institute Informational Interview Program about jobs. Today we are talking with Bryan Bulman, owner of the ZURI Pet Spa and Resort. We have a lot of people on the line and we welcome your questions. We want to make this a conversation because everybody loves talking about animals. So if you do have a question, you can raise an electronic hand, you can type questions into the chat, or ask your question in between the interview questions. We'd really like this to be a conversation. The session is being recorded, so for the sake of audio quality, please mute your audio when you are not talking. Our interviewer today will be Coach Janet Murr. At this point, I will turn it over to you, Janet.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. And greetings, Bryan. Thank you so much for being here. The people who call in most to hear your stories and personal experiences are going to be really excited to have you here, and I am as well. So I'm going to start by asking you about your company. So my first question is, let's start with the beautiful name of your company. So where did you get the name ZURI, and how did the concept of a spa and resort come about?
Well, that wasn't me. It was my wife. She wasn't my wife then, but she was a mobile groomer, and before that even, she started her own dog collar line, a really nice, fancy dog collar line with leather and crystals and all this stuff, and it was named ZURI after, it means beautiful in Swahili. So it just kind of snowballed from there, and you know, the name stuff.
I did not know that. That's wonderful. It's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
Thank you. So tell us about ZURI Pet Spa and Resort. What makes it different than the other pet places or pet care places around?
A lot. I'd say the most important part would be the level of care that we provide, and our overall I guess style of boarding dogs is nice. Every dog here has its own. Oh, I'm sorry. Every dog here has its own room, with, you know, just like your own room. No cages or kennels. They all have their own rooms that they stay in overnight, with beds that are raised up off the ground and blankets. And there's 24-hour care here, so someone's here even all night long in the middle of the night. God forbid something was to go wrong. And we offer the whole variety of dog things. I mean, we have trainers we work with, we do grooming, we do daycare, we do boarding, and then once a month we have a vaccine clinic that comes here with a vet. So kind of cover everything.
As a dog owner, I can tell you that is very, very different than the places that I have researched and the places that I have seen around the area. So that is very, very interesting. So it's really cool. I love that the dogs each have their own room. It's like a hotel.
Yeah. And
like a resort.
If we have time, I thought about this. If we have time on this call, I can go walk around the building and show everybody some dogs and stuff.
I would. I think we would all love that. So keep that in mind. So I think that would be great. Sure. I love it that you have your phone and you can do that. So my next question is, what kind of dogs make use of the ZURI Pet Spa?
Every type of dog. You name it. I have in a room just right back over there, I have a Chihuahua that's probably 2 pounds maybe. Full grown. She's tiny. She's like this big. And then I have a dog in daycare right now. It's a St. Bernard that's 220 pounds. So every type of dog you could possibly imagine comes here. Even if they don't get along with other dogs, they can stay with us. We have a private play lodging option where they don't socialize with the other dogs, but they socialize with the employees, and we take them on walks and whatnot. So we can even cater to dogs that may be dog aggressive or just, you know, too old and don't go into play group. We cover all the bases for, you know, no matter where you're at with your dog. A lot of places won't do that. Also, dogs that are intact, they're not neutered or spayed, we can take them as well, which a lot of other places can't. So they just won't be in play group with the other dogs.
I like that. Thank you.
Janet, we have a polling question.
Okay, jump in with the polling question.
All right. So everybody who is in attendance can tell us a little bit about your favorite kind of dog. Okay. Looks like we've got most of the answers that we need, and we're going to share the results. Looks like golden retrievers are the popular breed right now. Awesome. All right. Back to you, Janet.
I'm a golden retriever owner, so we've had 2 golden. It's a great, great dog. And I love what you said about not turning away any dogs. And so I can imagine somebody who's wanting to go somewhere and checking or calling or trying to find a place for their dog and not being able to find anywhere. So I'm really glad that you offer that service. I think that's
the only dogs we can't take care of are dogs that are obviously human aggressive. So that's just, it can't work out. But we also have webcams in our playrooms too. So if you're on vacation or you're at work and your dog's here for daycare, you can pop in on your computer or your phone and watch your dog play in our playrooms.
Oh,
so
that's the cutest
cool
thing
option.
I've ever heard. And you know, people, their dogs are definitely like they're like their kids. So
I wonder if these people are actually at work sometimes because they watch it so much.
Oh my gosh, I can absolutely imagine that. I had a friend once, it was a long time ago before we had any cell phones, and we were in a hotel and she had the hotel phone and she was going, okay, Mandy, my little sweetie, my little sweetie.
That's
so
funny.
She would have loved that. So let's get on to the next question. The services offered emphasize dog care. Are all animals included, or does ZURI primarily offer services for dogs?
So we only dogs. We used to lodge cats here. We don't do that anymore. We just, our need for dogs was so much bigger, and the cats were pretty uncomfortable here most of the time anyway. Most cats don't get lodged very often, so when they do, they're really uncomfortable. So we just decided to not do it anymore. We still bathe and groom cats, but they just don't stay here overnight. But then the rest of our clientele is all dogs.
Well, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Does ZURI have a specialty service, something it is especially well known for?
I would say we're most well known for our chauffeur service. So we have a Sprinter van with a driver, Carl, who drives around and picks dogs up, and it's cute. You know, a lot of the owners say, can my dog get picked up on the ZURI bus or the limo or whatever? And Carl drives around all morning long and picks dogs up, and then in the afternoon delivers them. So that's a really good option that lots of people do. I mean, sometimes he's busy all day driving, that, you don't even have to put your dog in the car and bring it here. We'll do it for you. So
let me get this straight. You have a chauffeur service with a limo for your dogs.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, first I have to say that's very OC.
Yeah.
I'm from Washington State, and I know, I have to call my sister after this. I know that there's no one there that has that, and that is the best thing that I have heard.
That's awesome.
I think that is wonderful, and it's a great service. And I can just picture the little dogs with the little seat belts, riding around.
Yeah, it's very convenient. Yeah.
Great. I mean, I think that's amazing. So
we have a question that somebody has asked. Marcy has a question for you, Bryan.
Yeah.
Her son has a German Shepherd and gives him commands in German. Okay.
That's awesome.
I think so too. As long as the dog.
Does he know English too?
That's a good question.
Yeah, he actually does. I just was really concerned because I don't know if the German Shepherd approaches somebody and is he only going to understand German? Some people.
Yeah, I don't know. I only speak one language, so I don't. I don't know. That's crazy.
Well, he knows those commands in German
smart
and
dogs.
in English.
German Shepherds are very smart dogs.
Yeah.
So Bryan, is it also true that some dogs respond more to the tone of voice, and it may not even matter what language you're speaking?
Yes, yeah, for sure. I mean, quite frankly, who knows really what goes on? But yeah, I mean, they do a lot by smell too. No noise at all. They could smell. Dogs smell. I mean, like 100,000 times better than us. So I can only imagine what that's like. So they know. They know people.
All right. Thank you.
I didn't
All
know
right.
you could teach a dog a language either. So this is very informative. Talk about an informational interview. This is really
Yeah.
cool. So thanks, you guys. Thanks, Marcy. Thanks, Brian. All right, let's get on to the next question. This is about Brian. So please tell me about your beginnings in the pet care business. You told us a little bit about your wife now, girlfriend then. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I started at the age of, oh gosh, I don't know, 11 or 12. After school, instead of like going and hanging out with my friends, I'd go down to the SPCA. It was right down the street from my house. I grew up in New Jersey, and I would do that every day after school for years when I was a kid. So I mean, I've been working with dogs since I can remember. Fast forward, you know, and I've worked at vets and done all types of stuff. Fast forward, I moved to California 10 years ago, and was looking for a job, and I found a job at a place in San Clemente called Camp Bow Wow, which is another pet boarding facility. And I managed that facility for about 3.5 years. And while I was working there, there was a mobile groomer that used to come groom dogs. And that mobile groomer is now my wife. And it's a long story from that point on. But, you know, eventually she went from mobile grooming and opened up a small grooming salon, you know, a couple thousand square feet. The building we're in now is 10,000 square feet. So it's much bigger. But she did the grooming salon and then begged me to come work for her over and over again. And I finally did. And I worked with her. I'm sorry, I got a phone call. I worked with her for years. And then eventually it just turned into something different.
Oh, that's such a great story.
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, that's in a nutshell.
Fantastic.
It could be way longer than that. I just, you know, we don't have the time.
Yeah, no, the abbreviated version, I think that's a great story. I love that. I want to ask about her dog collar business as well, but I'll save that for a few minutes. While looking around the internet, we found, well, this actually was the part of the question. We found the sweet story about you and your wife meeting each other. So I'll jump forward a little bit. What are your main responsibilities at ZURI Pet Spa Resort?
I mean, all of the responsibilities. I you know, run the business on the day to day between me, my wife, and my mother-in-law, and you know, every day's different. I wouldn't say one day's ever the same, and I love that. You know, there's some days where I'm not here barely at all. There's some days I'm here, you know, 15 hours straight. You never know. You never know what's going to happen or what's going on. I love that about this business. But as responsibilities, I do whatever needs to be done, and I make sure all my employees are taken care of and happy and all that.
So mainly what you do would be walking the dogs and then grooming the dogs and then making sure that they're, because it's, you know, daycare, and then you have them overnight a lot of times. So it's making sure that you do mostly grooming, mostly walking, or mostly overnight daycare.
So I would say about a quarter, not even, maybe about 20% of our business would be grooming, another 20% is daycare, and then 60% is overnight lodging. So overnight lodging is the main bulk of our business. And the employees' duties would be they walk the dogs, they feed the dogs, they clean up after they're in their rooms, they clean up after them in the playrooms, they supervise them in the playrooms. I have front desk employees where their job is to check the dogs in, go over their belongings, talk to the client, make sure everybody's happy, you know, check the bathing dogs in, grooming dogs, all that type of stuff. I have groomers that give haircuts. I have bathers that do bathing. The bathing and grooming is extremely busy. We're very, very, very popular in that regard. One of my groomers has been with me for 10 years, and she's just, nobody's as good as she is. So we stay super busy down there. It's a really busy building, a lot going on.
Well, that says a lot about your business that you have employees that have been there for 10 years. So that's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, and also what you were saying about the overnight, because it's a big deal. I mean, when you go on vacation, trying to figure out a place to have your dog stay, or you don't want, to give it to somebody to watch it. You don't want somebody to have to come over. So, I mean, sometimes people don't go on vacation. I mean, I know somebody that they don't go on vacation because of their dog. That's amazing, and it's wonderful that if you can find a place that you're comfortable with, and that's
Yeah,
I bet you have a lot of
think that
repeat customers.
I think the biggest area we excel in, I know me personally, would be like the personal touch. You know, when I talk to the clients, I mean, they're just so comfortable when they leave, and you can't put a price on that, you know? So, because I have 5 dogs myself. I'm a dog owner. I'm nuts about my dogs too. So when I'm on vacation, I watch them on the cam too, like just like anybody else. So when they come in and they speak with us, I feel like just our whole, dynamic and atmosphere here makes them really comfortable.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just went through what a typical day is like for you and what you like most about your work, which is the personal touch. What kind of decisions do you make? What kind of challenges do you face day to day working there?
Okay. So example, dogs don't always behave. So sometimes dogs get into fights. And so sometimes those fights and dogs do damage, and people understand sometimes damage gets done even when they're playing. So those are some challenges you'll come into during the day. If a dog gets a puncture or a cut or whatever, you got to decide whether, is this okay? Does he need to just be taken out for the day? Do I need to bring him to the vet? Do I need to call the owner, or is it just a scratch? Don't worry them right now. Tell them when they pick up. Those are pretty big decisions that happen during the day. Dealing with clients it can definitely be challenging sometimes, depending on the situation and the person and what's going on. If we're really busy and I've got a line out the door, which happens quite often, people can get pretty frustrated sometimes, so those are definitely some of the challenging things that we have to deal with. And then there's a whole nother aspect to all of this, and I think you're going to ask about it to the end, would be the ZURI, the rescue that we run.
Yes, we're going to ask about that. Yeah, we'll definitely get to that. I didn't think about a lot of those things. It's like any other business, but yeah, I didn't think about a lot of those challenges. Okay.
I'm sure I could go on too. That's just off the top of my head.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I didn't think about those. The decisions you have to make, like if a dog gets a scratch, do you call the parents? And I think a lot of that's personal too, because you get to know the owners, you get to know the dogs, and then you can kind of make decisions from there. That makes sense.
Yes.
Do you have any mentors, role models who have helped you during your career along the way?
My wife.
Oh.
Yeah.
We'll have 100%. To record this and give her a copy.
All right.
That's sweet. Okay. About the team effort at ZURI. You work with a team of people who primarily work with dogs. Do you and the team at ZURI Pet Spa and Resort get the opportunity to interact with each other very much, or is the focus primarily on the dogs and their humans?
Our back-end employees, so like our pet techs is what they call, the ones that are walking the dogs, feeding the dogs, cleaning, monitoring the playrooms, all of that. They're more dog interaction. They interact with each other, a little bit during the day and whatnot, but most of the time they're just with the dogs. My front desk employees are with each other pretty often and socializing with the groomers and the bathers and, all of us all the time. So they interact with people a lot more. And then the groomers and bathers, they kind of stay into their little area too. But yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. I was just going back to something that you said earlier. Did you say 10,000 square feet?
Yes.
Wow. That's a big piece of space. It's
what, 30, I have 91 dogs here right now.
How many?
91.
Wow.
Are in the building right now.
Yeah, that you manage and know and have their each own room, and I'm excited to have a tour. So
so Jared, all right. Polling question. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for a polling question.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Okay.
Can everybody see the polling question?
I can see it.
Okay, thanks. So it is, would you like to work with dogs?
Yes.
Let's see. Okay.
You have to Janet, before you get back to it, I have a question from a participant that I'm going to
All
read.
right, no problem.
Poll is done. Yeah. Okay, looks like most people have polled. All right. People like working with more than one dog. A little excitement there.
Everybody wants to.
I like
Yeah,
that.
that's right. And then Lisa asked, what kind of experience do you need to have to be a groomer or a person working directly with dogs?
Groomer is a whole nother story. That requires a lot of training, a lot of skill, that, you know, it takes a lot of time to acquire. Our pet techs, you don't really necessarily have to have any experience at all, as long as you can, you know, perform the duties of the job. Obviously, the one prerequisite for every employee here would be you have to love dogs. And I really mean that. You can't just like dogs. You got to love dogs, because you'll notice over time if somebody's working here or you're seeing somebody, whether they like dogs or really love dogs, you know, because when you're dealing with 90 and they're barking constantly and they're pooping and they're peeing and they're biting and they're scratching, you know, all of those things, patience can run thin. So you'll find out if you really love them or not at that point.
And you have to love them. I get it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the difference between someone when you go into their house or they come into your house and they pat your dog on the head, or they go, oh, come here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask you what a pet tech is?
A pet tech is our back end employees. So they do all of the duties of the building except for the front desk and bathing and grooming. So
I got it. That's the name for what you were saying.
Taking care of the dogs.
Got it. Okay. Got it. All right. Let's see. You just answered the question about some of the different jobs, so thank you. And you just answered the question about what qualities and skills are most important for someone interested in a job taking care of dogs. All right. What role do volunteers play in your organization, and what qualities do you feel are most important for a volunteer?
At the pet resort, we don't have volunteers because we're a for-profit business. But the pet rescue, we do have volunteer opportunities for, and we have volunteers that help us with that. And that is for a whole wide array of things. You could be bathing dogs or walking them or coming to an event with us and helping them get them adopted, or even like making bandanas or treats for them. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that our volunteers do for the dogs that we just don't, you know, have time for, because the rescue is a whole nother, you know, animal on its own, no pun intended, and it's, you know, only my wife and I running it, so we really rely on the help of volunteers a lot of the time. Wow.
Okay, so how has the work changed since coronavirus started? How has that played a part in what has been going on?
Well, as of now, it's pretty much back to normal, other than we're probably down a little bit than we were from last year. So business-wise is picked up for the most part. And then you know, obviously people wearing masks is not normal. It's odd. You know, so it's just not normal. But other than those two things, right now, not much is different. Now, there was a 3-month period when it first started where we laid off almost every single one of our employees except our night guy and our groomer that's been with us for 10 years. And it was just me and my wife, my mother and father-in-law, and those two people running the business for 3 months straight. And in those 3 months, we were working, you know, 100 to 150 hours a week because there was nobody else to do it. So
wow.
Back then it was definitely, it was weird, you know, but we were able to stay open, and we you know, we fought through, and we're on the other end of it now. So it did get weird for a while, but right now everything seems to be fairly back to normal.
I am so glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that you guys stayed open and things are back to normal. But the 100 or 150 hours a week, are you catching up on your sleep, or how are you guys doing with that?
No, because then, okay, so all that ends. Now you hire a whole bunch of new employees, some of your old ones, but now nobody knows what they're doing. So now I'm here again all the time because you have to train everybody. So,
yeah,
you know, it's
never ending being a business owner. But it's great that you're, open and getting back to normal. That's so cool.
Yeah.
All right. What is the typical day for a dog in daycare as opposed to an extended vacation at your resort?
Okay, so a daycare dog would get dropped off in the morning by their owner, anywhere between 6:30 in the morning and 10 a.m. typically. They get dropped off. They walk into the daycare room, either the big dog room or the little dog room. I can show you guys both later. And the little dog room is, no dogs over 30 pounds are typically in there. Unless we have a couple really older dogs that are really slow that we'll put in there that are safe for the little guys, but typically it's just little dogs in there and then our big dog room. So they'll go into one of those rooms and they will stay in there all day long and play with their friends and hang out unless they get a lunch or a nap. Some of them get lunch or naps at lunchtime. And if they do, they're in their rooms from 12 to 2 and then they go back into playgroup until their owners come and pick them up. Now, the overnight lodging dogs, they wake up around 5:30 by our night guy, feeding them, and then they eat, and then they digest, because it's not good to let a dog play right after they eat. So they eat, and then we keep them in their rooms for a good, another hour and a half or so, and then they all get let out into playgroup in the morning, play for the whole day, get brought back in their rooms about 4 p.m., get fed dinner around 4:30, get another potty break around 8:30 p.m., and then they're in bed for the night.
I just love this. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay. Let me see. What is the most unique or unusual dog you have ever had there as a guest?
Unique or unusual dog? Oh my gosh. I know we've had a lot. I think she's here. We do have one here right now. We have a Japanese chin here right now, which they don't have much hair on them at all. They're pretty much bald and they have like little poofs of hair here and there. Have you ever seen one of those? They're really
funny. I think on the Real Housewives a long time ago.
Yeah. So I'll see if she's here later. Maybe I could show you her. But that's a really bizarre looking dog.
Yeah.
But sure. I know there's more too. I just can't think of them offhand right now. But yeah, there's definitely some odd dogs for sure.
So Janet, we have another question.
Okay,
and it is about the different jobs that the different employees, the different staff types. What does a front desk person do? Courtney was asking this question.
So front desk is, our customers, the only place they ever see in this building is our lobby. We're not allowed to bring them into the playrooms, and nobody, we give tours in our little foyer area, but for the most part, you're just dropping your dog off and picking them up. So our front desk employees are very, very important because they're the only face that a lot of these people see or talk to or, deal with. So it's a very important part of the business. They answer the phones, they clean, they keep it clean up there. They check dogs in for, grooming, bathing, daycare, lodging, all that stuff. They go over the feeding instructions and, belongings that they might have brought, all of those things. That's all the front desk's responsibilities.
Great, thank you. Okay, so your website, the ZURIPetSpa.com, mentions that dogs who vacation at the resort are walked regularly. So can you tell us when they're walked, do they keep to the neighborhood or do they go on excursions? I picture them getting on a little doggy bus, going down to the beach,
so
in the limo.
Our 15-minute strolls is what they're called. Is just on the trail behind our building. It ends up being about a mile. But we are looking into doing something like that. And I got the idea the other day. One of our clients, they wanted their dog delivered in Laguna Beach, and Carl didn't. He just didn't have time to do Laguna Beach. It's a far drive from here. So I was like, oh, I'll take care of it. I'll take her home. And I ended up bringing her home a couple hours early, and my wife and I went out to lunch with her and brought her to the beach and sent the owner pictures, and they were like beside themselves happy that she got this special care. So it got me thinking, maybe we should offer something like that at a premium for people. Some people just, money's not an option, an issue for them. So
yeah, for sure.
It was just a cool idea, but that's in the works.
The ultimate experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can get a helicopter and give them a helicopter. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so let's see. how about what kinds of challenges do the dog walkers have to manage when they're walking dogs, and how many do they walk at once? Because do they have
Only
to have
one.
leashes on all of them? Okay, just one.
One dog at a time, and I make them put 2 leashes on them
Oh,
because the last thing on earth you ever want to happen is to lose a dog. You know, they're not your dog. They're going to be probably a little uncomfortable. They could be a little freaked out. So, you know, you can never be too careful when walking a dog. So they only get walked once, you know, one at a time. And when they are being walked, they get kept away from the other dogs because, you know, typically a lot of the dogs that are being walked aren't good with other dogs, right? Because they're private play. So the pet tax and everybody needs to be really careful to make sure that they're not, you know, causing any issues or having them interact with any other dogs.
that is so smart. I've seen Judge Judy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Do the dogs tend to get along with each other? Actually, I think you answered that. So how can you determine whether any of the dogs won't get along? We see such pictures all over Instagram of all these like happy dogs and they're all posed and they're all, you know, together. But how can you tell if dogs aren't going to get along?
Body language.
How would you handle it? Yeah.
You'd watch their body language, and that just comes with experience with dogs. When I hire people here, I have them watch videos that teach you a bit about it, that can give you some indications on you know, whether they're playing or this has gone over the, you know, over the line, they're getting too rough, or they're actually fighting. You know, there's all these different things, because some people think that, you know, if the dogs are playing, they're fighting each other. But I mean, no, some of these puppies in there, they're playing so hard, you'd think they were killing each other, but no, they're just playing. So it's important to train the employees on what those behaviors look like, and, you know, what a dog that might be challenging another dog looks like, or what a dog, you know, that's scared might look like, all of those things. And they'll tell us whether the dog's going to do well or not. I mean, people like my wife and I have been doing this forever. I mean, I can tell almost instantly, you know, with the dog, and whether it can be, and the issue can be worked out, or this is something that we're just not going to be able to handle. But it's definitely challenging, and it takes some skill to read dog behavior really well.
That makes a lot
and
of sense.
even if you're the best at it, it doesn't matter. You could have a play group of 25 dogs, and eventually those two just start getting aggravated and something happens, you know. So there's no like perfect equation for it.
But then you always allow for that, and you don't ever, like, you know, turn your back or let them all just be alone together. I get that. Yeah. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you see working with dogs changing in the future? I think you just answered one of those questions by having like a special, you know, package where you take them out and do one-on-one, but how else maybe?
Well, this is a cool thing we're doing. So we are opening up a second location, which is really exciting, in January in Rancho Mission Viejo. And one new cool thing we're doing at that location that we don't have here is we're installing a splash pad. So like they have at kids parks with the water that kind of squirts up in the air and does all weird things, and the kids can play in the water. We're going to have one for the dogs at our new facility.
What a great thing. And congratulations on the new facility. I mean, that's great, on a second location. I've seen that when I've seen, you know, you see on, I think it's YouTube, and you see the puppy, you know, playing with the water, and they put their mouth over the hose, and then it's, you know, one of those, I don't know, Snapchat or one of those things. Oh, that's so cool. That's a great answer. Okay, here we go. Now about ZURI Pet Rescue. We talked a little bit about that before. We've also read about your nonprofit organization, the ZURI Pet Rescue, where adoption is a beautiful option. Does that organization continue to exist? Of course, because we talked about it. If so, we have a few questions. How did this organization get started?
You know, gosh, probably close to 10 years or 8 years ago or so, when we were at that little grooming salon. It's always been my wife's thing to rescue dogs. It's just always has been. So she made a friend with a person that ran an animal shelter out in Riverside, and she ended up, you know, she'd say, hey, I got a couple puppies, and we'd get them, and then we'd adopt them to our clients, and we just started doing it. And before you knew it, it was getting like to be pretty busy. And, you know, we decided to do the 501c3, make it official. And since then, gosh, since January over COVID, I think I adopted out maybe 70 or 80 dogs, probably 50 puppies over COVID.
Wow.
We got all the pregnant moms from all the shelters because COVID screwed everything up. Nobody could take care of these dogs. So we took them here because we were empty. Nobody was boarding. We had like 2 dogs here. So we took all these pregnant moms and they all had their babies here. And then we adopted all of them out, the moms, the babies, everything. So that's what we were doing when it was, when we were like shut down pretty much. We were crazy busy because we were doing adoptions out the kazoo. So I think last year we adopted out 300 plus animals. So it's really cool.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I'm so glad you were there, when all these dogs needed somebody or some place to go. I think that's wonderful. Does the pet rescue primarily, do you rescue other pets? I'm assuming it's dogs.
It is dogs. We used to do cats, but we do have the occasional odd animal, if you will. So for instance, up until a couple weeks ago, for a good 2 months, we had a mini pig staying with us named Hakuna. I was closing down one day where I was about to walk out and leave, and this girl walked up to our door and said, "I can't take care of this anymore. Can you please take it?" And it was a pig in a crate, 4-month-old pig, tiny. It was like this big. And one of my employees loves pigs. She ended up training the pig to sit and walk on a leash and do all these things, and then we adopted it out to an owner. So yeah, there's been some random animals for sure.
Bryan, I can't see you saying no to a pig or actually any animal, but I can just see, I have a feeling that
my wife is the one that can't say no. I have to be the voice of reason most of the time, but it doesn't work usually.
Well, I have a feeling, how about that? Nothing surprises you at this point.
No, not at all.
We have read that you get most of your dogs from open admission shelters in California. Can you describe the primary qualities of an open admission shelter?
I think that by open admission, that means that you can relinquish dogs there. You can pick up stray dogs and bring them there. It's just, they'll take any dog pretty much that's there. And the shelter that we work with almost primarily is Riverside Animal Shelter. And it's the second largest indoor animal shelter in the entire country, I think. It's really, really nice. And they do a really good job there.
Second largest in the country?
Yeah, it's huge.
I'm writing that down, by the way.
Second largest, like the amount of indoor space they have.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's like a college campus, that place. It's amazing. They have anywhere from 400 to 600 dogs at a time there.
That is so great.
Yeah.
So neat. Okay. How do you select the dogs to accept, and what care do they receive when they get there? And do they get the resort services? I think I'm looking at time, so I'm just trying to make sure that I get the questions. We've got about 3 or 4 questions left, so I think we're going to be okay. I still want to have time to show us the facility.
Okay. So the rescue dogs, when they get here, we have them on a little quarantine, if you will, for a couple weeks to make sure that no sickness comes out we didn't notice or any issues or whatever, because they are going to be interacting with our clients' dogs and stuff like that. So we keep them separate for a while. We make sure they've got all their vaccines up to date and they get spayed or neutered. And then once that's taken care of, we usually clean them up too. As soon as they get there, they either need a groom or a bath. We'll get them all cleaned up, do all that. And then once we know that they're vaccinated and they're healthy, we'll put them up for adoption, and then they'll do a typical day just like any of our clients here. They'll go into play group. They'll do the thing, stay in the rooms the same way they do. It's the same deal for them.
Oh, that's great. That's very cool.
A couple questions have come into chat. This one is, sir, when will the new site open? When will you be hiring new staff? Did you hear that one, Bryan? I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. It was breaking up for a second.
I'll repeat. When will the new site be open?
January is what we're aiming for, but who knows? There's a lot of stuff going on in between now and then.
Exactly. Yeah. And when will you be hiring new staff?
I I would imagine a month or two before that. You know, I'd have to talk to my wife, but we'll probably have to start, you know, inquiring, you know, a month or two ahead of time.
All right. And we have another question. This is, are you ready to give a little bit of doggy advice here? We have someone who has a question about a Labrador. Karina, about her Labrador. He barks when they are at dinner. She's tried everything. She's given him a bone, but when he finishes, he goes right back to barking again. Any advice?
Well, they do have, I mean, there's a couple things you could do. You could put him elsewhere where he's not around you, you know, put him, if my dogs have a crate. So if my dog was doing that, I'd put him in the crate upstairs. Like, not okay. You want to bark while we're having dinner, you can do it by yourself, not with us. But if it's a consistent problem and it's, you know, really becoming really difficult, they do make bark collars that'll either vibrate or do like a little zap that when they bark, it tells them not to. So that would be the, I guess, the more extreme option, but you know, I would just put him somewhere else.
That makes sense. That's a good answer. I get that. Yeah, we had both our dogs were crate trained.
Or give them a marrow bone. I give my dogs marrow bones. It keeps them busy for like 5 hours. If I want my dogs busy, I give them those and throw them in the backyard. They like it, yeah.
That's another good solution because those take a long time.
Yeah.
What jobs and volunteer positions are needed primarily at the nonprofit rescue organization that aren't part of the spa and resort? Are they different? Are there any that are different?
Well, you mean job responsibilities?
Yeah, that are part of the volunteer part that aren't the same as the regular part.
Yeah, I'd say it's different. I mean, they have to do things like, they can do things like take pictures and post them online and put them on Pet Finder and, you know, work that angle to get them adopted. That's something that our employees don't do with the dogs. They also, a lot of the times these rescues come in with like pretty severe medical issues. So we find that to be a really cool challenge for people to be able to work with and get, you know, get sick dogs healthy, or, you know, dogs that are issue, or watching dogs have babies. They do it all the time here. I mean, that's really cool. You know, that's not something you see every day, you know? So there's definitely a lot of unique aspects to the rescue. And that's why our employees at the pet resort love the rescue so much, because they get to work with those dogs too. And you know, it just makes them happy. So it creates a really good work environment.
That's neat. I'm going to ask one more question, and then maybe you can show us around a little bit.
Yeah.
The question I had is, you mentioned events. What kind of events were you talking about?
So the pet resort and the pet spa do certain events every year. Like there's a car show in San Juan we go to. There's the Festival of the Whales. We'll have a booth and, you know, like a setup, and I'll bring my dogs and we'll hand out free stuff, and, you know, that type of event is what I was talking about.
And it's about the pet rescue? Actually, probably about both, I would guess.
Well, it all depends on the event. Sometimes we bring the rescue, sometimes we bring the resort. It all depends. Oh,
that's neat. Okay, cool. Well, then I will send it back over, and then you can ask if there's any questions that anyone has. Or anybody else have any questions?
We've gotten through most of the questions. Actually, I think all of the questions that have been submitted through chat. If anybody else has a question that you would like to ask now, you can unmute yourself and say, I have a question, and then we will get to you. Does anybody have a question for Bryan?
If not, we can let Bryan maybe take us on a little tour.
Yeah, I'm going to take you on a little walk. It might get pretty loud, but I'll do my best, okay?
Hey, that sounds great.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. We're going to go downstairs here. And when I open this door, it's going to open up into where all the big dogs play. So be ready. Flip this around.
We're going to lose you, so you might freeze. So if you can hear me, your screen is frozen. So you might not be able to show us downstairs.
downstairs, even if the picture is frozen.
Oh yeah, we see some.
We can hear the dogs.
We can see a few of the dogs.
See all the dogs?
You got frozen a little bit because I think because you're downstairs. You can show
Oh, what
us
a bummer. It's probably because I was in the back there. That sucks.
Yeah.
Here, hold on, let's see. I'll bring you into the grooming room. Can you see now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I can see you for sure. We can see you.
Yeah, these are my dogs. Look at this guy.
Oh, what a sweetheart. What kind of dogs are they? Tell us what we're seeing.
That's the grooming room.
You can see a lot of dogs are on the floor.
Is it breaking up a lot, or were you able to see any of that?
We saw it.
We saw
Okay.
it. It was
Here's
great.
the real, here, one last little puppy I'll show you.
All
Are you
right.
going to show us the ugly dog? Oh, oh, what a sweetheart. What's that doggy's name?
She's cute, huh?
Yeah, what kind of dog is that?
She's a husky puppy. It's actually one of our rescues. I rescued that dog for one of our groomers.
Oh, so sweet.
Yeah.
Huskies have such great personalities. It's such a
That's
cute
a
dog.
great place.
They are go, 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 I'll tell you.
Yeah.
All right, well, is
Thank
that
you
all?
for-
Or?
Thank you for showing us around, and thank you. So I think, unless somebody else has any questions, we really want to thank you. You've covered a lot, and we've learned, at least, on behalf of myself, and I think everyone here, we have learned a lot about your business and about the pet industry and about, what you do there. And we think you have a wonderful business. And
Have we had you guys here before?
what?
What?
Because we work with people like you. I don't know if you guys have had people here before. We work with companies like you where
Yeah, I don't think we specifically have worked there, but I'm definitely going to come down and we'll talk a little bit about employment, because as a job coach, we'd love to come down and kind of look at some of the positions there. So
we could definitely discuss that.
I think that would be great. Love to meet the rest of the family.
Sure.
We recently did a survey of different kinds of job interests among the people that we support.
Uh-huh.
Animal care, working with animals came up top of the list.
Oh, it's awesome. It's good to hear.
Definitely was top of the list.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
So, thank you so much, Brian.
No problem. Yeah,
We really appreciate it. And
If
we,
you ever need us to do it again, or you want my wife to do it or something, just let me know.
oh, you are so nice, and nice to meet you. Thank you again.
I'm Marcy.
Bye-bye,
All
guys.
right. Take
Take care.
care.
Yeah.
Bye.
My community, Brian. All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much, Janet, for hooking us up with this wonderful interview with ZURI Pet Spa and Resort. There will be more coming, and just keep looking for those emails. And we're trying to work on making it easier and easier to connect. So, so thank you with any patience that may be required with
The
connecting.
next one we can announce, there's one on Monday, and it
Yes.
is a sewer engineer. She's going to show us, well, talk to us about what it's like to be a city engineer that's in charge of an entire sewer system, but she's also going to show us some really cool pictures of the things they found in the sewers. So that's at 1 o'clock on Monday.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording and